to this happy place, welcome.
Hey guys, it's Tim with my beautiful wife, Audrey Ann.
Yes, I'm here.
She's here. She's present. You are listening to the Dreaming of Disney podcast. We are married.
What are you doing right now? I don't know what's happening.
You know, like when they have like an intro, like, you know, they say the same thing over
You do say the same thing. You say, hey guys, and then sometimes I say different things.
That's true.
Oh, you mean like introducing ourselves?
Yeah,
like
we're married.
I'm bored by us though, so like
I know.
I don't have anything to say about us that we haven't already said and repeated every single podcast.
Well, we're a husband and wife. We have
four kids.
Lots of kids, and we like going to Disneyland, and we like talking about it. So this is that. Talking about it.
Wait, I'm going to write this down so we can say it every time. We're husband and wife. We have 4 kids. We have a lot of kids. So I'll say we have 4 kids, and then you say we have a lot of kids. And then you'll say, we like going to Disneyland. And I'll be like, yeah. And you'll be like, this is that.
Yeah, that's it. That's our intro. So
Okay,
there it is.
There it is. We're going to do that next week.
This is how things work. So, but so we went to Disneyland 2 weeks ago.
A week and a half ago.
It was fun. And then we all got sick.
Well,
everyone but you.
I have not
Not yet.
gotten sick yet. Yeah.
But we're pretty much all over it. All of us boys and Gigi.
Yeah. Just a little cold.
Just a cold. It wasn't nothing too bad.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the mend now. We're doing better. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for asking. Anyways,
But
this trip,
yeah, we learned a lot.
because as we've talked about a lot, it's kind of like a new era. Post pandemic, reopening, Genie Plus, all of that. Whereas we've talked a lot about Genie Plus, this was our first time using it at Disneyland. And, going like a full trip with our kids using Genie Plus at Disneyland. This was the first time. So we picked up some new tips in regards to that, and just I don't, because we also noticed some things with rope dropping and what rides and all of that, and this could have actually been pre-pandemic and we just didn't notice. We only had one trip with Rise being open before, so and we just went to it, and there were fast pass. No, that was the virtual queue. It was
a virtual queue, so it was different. You couldn't even line up for it.
Right, it was a virtual queue back in the beginning of 2020. So, it was completely different. And then when we did it, you and I, when we went in May, it was, we just did, single rider. We just had the baby, so we just picked up some new ideas and noticed things and how things are going now. And so thought we'd do kind of an updated tip episode.
Yeah.
Or kind of a different one because other times we've talked about packing or food or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is a little different, but I brought out something that he always starts a sentence with, and now he's trying really hard not to. And I know that I do too. No, don't say it because then everyone will notice if they don't already.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's something that I always start a sentence with too, and it probably is super annoying, but I just brought yours out. And so now you're trying really hard not to say it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything.
It's okay. It's okay.
Just talk how you talk. You do you.
Well, now I can't. So.
First up, some tips with Genie Plus.
Genie Plus.
And some things we've noticed. If you don't know what Genie Plus is, you can go back and listen. We have an episode all about Genie Plus. I get very heated. But if you don't know how it works, I don't want to waste time going into it too much here, but you could, you Google it, or you could listen to that episode of our podcast.
Or you view this as a updated guide to Genie Plus after some.
Well, but I'm not going to explain.
Well, I know,
there's
but
a lot to explain. It's pretty complicated.
No, I'm just saying you need to explain it. This adds on to that episode.
Yes.
As far as real world experience.
Right. But I'm not going to go into detail on like how to use it because that's a lot. That was an entire episode.
Figure that out yourself. No, don't just listen to a past episode.
Okay. Anyways, so we noticed. So something we noticed is that when it comes to choosing, usually the return times are pretty, it's not a far wait. They're pretty close. Mm-hmm. Maybe, an hour or two at most for rides, even like Big Thunder.
It was within the next, especially in the mornings, it was, I noticed that like the return times were within 30 minutes or right then.
But like at the busier time of the day, you might, like for Space Mountain, there was one where it was like, okay, it's not for a few hours. Yeah. But it wasn't like what we saw at Disney World where it was like you get a Genie Plus selection at 7 a.m. for Slinky Dog Dash at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Like we never saw any of that. The longest one we saw that was the farthest out was Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. It like at first when park opened, it was down. It seems to always be down. And so you couldn't get a selection right away. And then once we could, it wasn't until like 11 or something like that. So it was several hours out where, like you said, Big Thunder, Star Tours, Space Mountain, like those in the morning were pretty like, like you said, maybe even right then or 30 minutes from now. But Indiana Jones, almost right away, we noticed, it's a few hours out.
Yeah.
I don't think we saw it sell out, but it like,
no,
it would be farther out. So it's just one, if, I would try to get that one early. Yeah. Because the wait also was, we got Lightning Lane for it. And then we also had to do rider swap. And both times the Lightning Lane for that one, it's a pretty good wait. Like it's not horrible, not like a standby, but I think standby was around 60, 65 minutes, and Lightning Lane, we waited at least 20.
Yeah.
I think it was actually, I looked at pictures from the beginning of the line to when we were on the cart, and it was 20, which is not bad, but most Lightning Lanes, you're waiting like 10 minutes. Yeah. So it's a longer wait in a Lightning Lane than some other ones. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. When we went on it, me and Boston, it was about a 75-minute wait standby, and I believe we waited a good 30 minutes or so.
And I think they were having some issues because, like I said in the last episode, like right, but when we got on the car, we were sitting in it for a little while before we went, and then, you know, at the end of the ride, we were stopped in the dark for a while, like we weren't moving. So I think they, you know, maybe it was down for a couple minutes in between me going and you going, you know, who knows, but that's one that I would, you know, definitely pay attention to, as far as like, you know, getting it, because it's a longer wait and they tend to be farther out. So if you're waiting, you know, till late afternoon, evening, you know, I don't know if it sells out at that point. We didn't check, but, yeah. So, also certain ones like you were paying, even though we weren't going to buy individual Lightning Lane for Rise, you were looking at it and you noticed like at one point the return time was several hours out.
Yeah.
And then it was like 30 minutes later or so, you checked again and they had released sooner times.
Yeah.
So you might, I mean, it's a little risky, but I don't think things sell out. Lightning lanes sell out in Disneyland like they do in Disney World.
No, they don't.
So if you're like, you know, you see a return time and it's hours away and you don't necessarily want to pick that because you could pick another ride with a quicker return time, you know, maybe do that because there's a chance they could release sooner times. There's a chance they won't, but it's a risk you may be willing to take.
What I tried doing, because that happened when we were in line for Rise, me and the boys decided to go to the line for it. And when we got there, the wait time was 70 minutes. About 30 minutes into the line, it went up to 120 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I did notice that, you know, when we first got there, if we were waiting in line, you know, it said 70 minutes. If I were to buy individual Lightning lanes, we would only need to wait probably about 20 minutes. It was about 20 minutes into the future is when we could actually go on it if we bought it.
Mm-hmm. So the return time was in 20 minutes.
Was in 20
and
minutes.
And then you would have waited probably like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. So, but once it jumped up to 120 minutes, the return time for the individual Lightning lane went up to 5 o'clock that evening. And this was about 10 o'clock in the morning. So it jumped, you know, multiple hours when it was a high wait time standby line. But when it gets like that, my trick is, and this goes to any Genie Plus or individual Lightning lane, is to refresh the tip board on the app. You know, if you go on your app and then if you go to the menu and then it says tip board, that's where it shows all of the wait times and show times and all that kind of stuff. If you refresh it by pulling down on the screen and it refreshes it, sometimes the return times will change to a sooner time. And that's what happened with Rise. It was like, it was at, you know, it was going, you know, it was 5:30 in the afternoon, 5:45. And then after a few minutes, it went back down to maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So there was a big jump. Yeah. But like a 4-hour jump back. And so just by, you know, refreshing, because what happens is people may have booked these things and then they cancel it. Or they release, they're seeing that not a lot of people are getting Genie Plus. So they release more times. Yeah. So trick is just to keep refreshing the list because you may get a better time or a sooner time, you know, than having to wait till later in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, we've talked about this before, but we noticed it again. You are on your phone a lot. Like I said in my packing list, external batteries.
They saved me multiple times.
Because you're using your phone a lot for Genie Plus and checking things. You're also darting all over the place. Yeah. It's like with FastPass, we would, you know, especially when they came out with MaxPass and you could do it on your phone, you didn't have to be actually at the attraction. Get return times for when you were going to be over there. So we would work our way around the park in like a systematic way. And now it's like, oh, there's a return time right now for Big Thunder. Let's go. Okay. Oh, now there's one for Space Mountain. Let's go over there. Like you are walking a lot more. You are darting all around the park.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. But anyways, that's not a tip. That's just an observation that I had before, and it holds up.
Well, not even just checking your phone, but like on Genie Plus or on the Disneyland app, they want you to keep your location services where where it tracks where you are in the park. If you have an iPhone, there's different settings for that. You can have where it tracks your location only when you're using the app, so only when the app's on your screen, or it tracks you while you're not using the app, so it's always tracking you. They recommend that because that's when you get,
of course they do.
You get alerts like, hey, you're at Hungry Bear. Let us know you're here to start your order, or hey, you've made it to a Space Mountain. Tap here to redeem your Genie Plus.
You could also just open your phone.
You could.
Because you're aware of where you are.
That too. But sometimes it's nice to get those push alerts because then you're just, it's easier to navigate. But what happens is if it's always tracking you, if you have it always set to always on, it's going to drain your battery faster because it's always tracking you via GPS. So that's another tip. It's like if you want to save a little bit more battery, turn that off to only while using the app.
Yeah.
So that way it's not draining your battery constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Another, it's an observation, kind of a tip. Something we noticed is it doesn't seem like a lot of people are purchasing individual lightning lanes for Rise, Racers, and Web Slingers. Those are the three that you have to purchase individually, separately from Genie Plus. It seems like most people are either rope dropping those or waiting.
Yeah.
Web Slingers is the one I saw the most like fluctuation, like it would go down. But as soon as it would go down, everyone in the park was aware of that. And by the time you get over there, it's back up. So if you do choose to purchase individual lightning lane, I personally don't think, it doesn't seem like you're going to wait that long. Like no. I would think that you'd walk right on because I didn't ride Rise, but like for Racers and for Web Slingers, for Racers, I take it back because I got to go in the lightning lane so I don't take it back actually. Because we did rider switch. So when we were the second group, there was nobody ahead of us. And then we got to the point where they stopped us and then we got into the main line and then obviously there were people ahead of us, but there was nobody ahead of us in the lightning lane. And Web Slingers, we waited an hour and I was kind of looking over and I saw very few people going into the lightning lane. Mm-hmm. So if you want to purchase, just keep that in mind. You're probably not going to wait.
Yeah. When we went back in May and when I purchased an individual lightning lane for Rise, I walked right on.
That's right. You did purchase. Yeah.
I walked straight onto the ride.
Yeah.
And you walk straight in to the part with the mission briefing with Ray and BB-8. I walked right to that point. So I waited maybe 5 minutes.
So here's an idea I had, or maybe I'll save this once we talk about rope dropping because it kind of goes into that. I'm going to save this till we talk about rope dropping because it'll make more sense. It's an idea.
Suspenseful.
It's an idea I have of what you could try, but I'm going to.
Our cat is doing weird things right now.
He's freaked out by all these cords. Anyways, I'm going to save that for in a little bit because it'll make more sense when I talk about what we experienced for rope dropping.
Okay.
Okay. So the last little bit of info I have for Genie Plus is, so you have an hour return time. They say, your return time is from 1 to 2, let's say. You have 15 minutes after 2. Mm-hmm. You have that leeway. That
you also have 5 minutes before.
Yes, you can check in 5 minutes before, and you have 15 minutes after to check in. I can't say this as an absolute certainty, but when we were in Disney World, we were, I feel like it was more than 15 minutes late for Remy's because I was really worried about it because I really wanted to ride that. And it was raining. You were in your scooter. Like it took us we didn't know where we were going. So it took us forever to get down there. And they didn't say anything. Like it was just like, and we were late for a couple other ones, but we were pretty late for Remy's. And I want to say it was more like 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything about it. Mm-hmm. We went up, we were like 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Late. And we just mentioned it to the cast member at Space Mountain. And she's like, well, you really only have 15 minutes. And she was kind of like,
she was not budging.
I mean, she's like, okay, I mean, I'll do it, but you have that 15 minutes and then she gave us a rider switch. But so I don't know if it was just her, if it was just the cast members on Space Mountain, if you went to another ride and they would have no problem with it. But just in case, most of the time, if you were nice and because we said we had to do, rider switch for Indiana Jones and the Lightning Lane was taking a lot longer. Is this okay? They're like, they will usually be like, yeah, just so you know though, like try. And she wasn't super nice. Yeah. This was the first trip. And I honestly think it's a post-pandemic thing and it's all over with customer service. Mm-hmm. This was the first time where I had more than one cast member that I didn't have anyone mean, but just not the usual, like
sympathetic,
going out of their way to help you. Like at one point with the mobile order, I walked up and she was like, she didn't even look up. She was like, your number. And it was like, oh, like, it's like I was living back in New York. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, you see that like everywhere now. It's not just Disneyland, but it has trickled into Disneyland.
Well, I mean, I remember this back from the Max Pass days, and I remember checking in the cast member, and we were late. I want to say it was more than 15 minutes, but he was like, "Why are you late?"
Because this is like, Disneyland. It's really hard to get around places.
What am I in school? Or
why you're tardy?
Because I'm a few minutes late. He's like, well, you only have 15 minutes.
Oh, it was the same with Max Pass?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this was the same thing with Fast Pass too. I remember there was a 15-minute thing, and he's like, why are you late? I was like, because I am. He's like, all right, well,
no, you didn't say that. I'm sure you said.
I said something. I forget what I said. But I don't know, maybe just Disneyland's more strict about that than Disney World.
Yeah.
Or we just had a cast member at Disney World who just didn't care.
Yeah. So maybe they are strict about it at Disney World too. But just keep that in mind. You have that 15-minute window afterwards. All right. So, things we noticed about Genie Plus. Rope dropping.
Good old rope dropping.
Rope dropping. So if you are unaware,
dropping the
rope dropping is when you get to the park when it is opening.
Yeah.
They will let all guests in now down Main Street, but you cannot get into the different lands. If you are staying at one of the Disneyland resorts, hotels, so Grand Californian, Disneyland Hotel, or Paradise Pier, you can get early entry, which is a half an hour before everybody else, before the official park opening. And you can go into Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. But for all other guests, you can get into the gates, get down Main Street, but there is a rope across to where you cannot go into the lands. people line up typically now for Frontierland so that they can get over to Galaxy's Edge. Rope drops. You go to wherever you want to go. So people are going insane because, I don't know, Californians, I don't know what it is, don't want to pay for the individual lightning lane, it seems. People want to get there as soon as they can in hopes that the standby line will not be too long. And I mean, we saw this in Disney World. We saw it in Hollywood Studios. Yeah. There was a mad dash to Galaxy's Edge because we were heading there too, because you guys were going to do Smuggler's Run, I think. But we didn't, we had never been there. So we didn't know where Galaxy's Edge was in the park. And I was like, let's just follow these people. Like everyone's going this way. I'm assuming it's over here.
Yeah.
Oops. And, so anyways, so we had early entry. And so what we did is we walked to the right, like you're going to Tomorrowland, but then like in front of the castle. You can go that way into Fantasyland for early entry. And then they have a rope in front of Frontier.
Frontierland. We went through Frontierland.
Frontierland.
Yeah.
Okay. But right next to you is the same rope. It's like they just split it in an aisle, like a grocery store aisle. Yeah. So there's a rope going across Frontierland and then a rope perpendicular to that. On one side, you have the early entry guests. On the other side, you have everybody else. Yeah. Everybody else is lined up down Main Street. And so we had maybe 20 or so.
20 people and then hundreds of people on the other side.
But they dropped the rope at the same time. So you get in, we got in at 7:40, 7:45 maybe. And, but we can't get any closer to Galaxy's Edge than all those other people. Yes, we got right up to the rope pretty much, where if we wouldn't have, we would have been way back on Main Street. So you do have that edge up. We also, I wanted to try, but we decided not to. If you go in the backside of Fantasyland, you can walk down to an entrance of Galaxy's Edge. So backside of Fantasyland, you pass like Rose Tavern and you pass where like the old petting zoo used to be. And there's an entrance to Galaxy's Edge that way. I was curious about what that would be back there where they had the rope. Do they have the rope right at the end of Fantasyland? Do they have the rope closer to Galaxy's Edge entrance? We didn't try it. I'm curious to try it another time because you can get into Fantasyland for early entry. So,
I mean, from the little bit of research I'd done and from some Facebook groups, that's where they hold you for those who have early entry by Red Rose Tavern.
That's what I figured.
They hold you right there. And then, so that gives you a leg up to getting into Galaxy's Edge early. I know that's what you said it probably would have done, and we chose poorly. I chose poorly.
All right. I just want credit for that because I said that. I said, I doubt that many people are doing that. And no one else is right next to you.
Yeah. Where
if we wouldn't have been next to the hundreds of people, it would have been fine. There was 20 other people around us.
Yeah.
So if you're in the backside of Fantasyland by Red Rose Tavern, it's just you.
Yeah.
So here's what happens.
And then the entrance is right there too.
Which you will share a video. Or you didn't video when the rope dropped, right? Because
no, I didn't.
I don't know how you would have. So, I mean, I think I shared the story last week, but rope drops. So yeah, there's not as many as people in front of you right before the rope drop, but as soon as the rope drops,
everybody
runs. The crazy people that don't care about anybody else stampede over you.
Yeah.
And they run. It's very annoying unless you're 17 and you're running. So if you are going to try to rope drop rise, and as we've mentioned, by the time we got there, if you listened to last week's episode, by the time we got there, if you're familiar with Galaxy's Edge, we go in the Hungry Bear side, which is where the side that Rise of the Resistance is on. By the time we got to the end of where the line was, we were almost to Smuggler's Run. We were at
the Ronto Roaster, the restaurant, Ronto's Roasters. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is very far.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the wait was 90 minutes.
Yep.
We headed straight to Galaxy's Edge. We were not running, but we were walking fast. I was breathing heavy in a sweaty mess.
Yeah, I went ahead of
you. Went ahead,
and
well, your legs are twice as long as mine. I also was carrying Georgia, and I was trying to not have like Noah get trampled by these like 40-year-old women that were trying to stampede my son. So, so you might still have to wait a long time. But if you don't have early entry and you want to do it, just know you on busy days, you're still going to wait if you really want to do it. That day, we kept an eye on it because we were like, okay, maybe when everyone lines up for the parade, the wait will go down. It didn't.
Yeah.
The wait did not go down that day. And we didn't ride it that day.
Well, another thing with Rise is that it doesn't stay open till park close. It closes every day at somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Every day. It does not stay open till midnight.
I wonder why.
It's because of the high maintenance it takes. They have to close it down early to make sure that it runs smoothly the next day. So,
which it usually doesn't. No, it just breaks. It breaks.
It
doesn't break down as much as Indiana Jones.
No, and it doesn't break down as much as it used to. So, I know you're very strongly against purchasing individual Lightning Lane.
I really am. Except when we went to Disney World and there were rides we had never done.
That's different, yes.
I was like, okay, we might never come again. And I want to get these rides. It was a full new experience. So if you don't get to go that often and you want to, I would suggest though, knowing like budget for it. So you don't get there and you're like, what? Budget for it. If you don't want to wait, because it will save you time. It definitely will. If you're like, I want to ride this ride and you hardly ever go, maybe once every several years or once in a lifetime, I'd say budget for it.
Yeah.
It makes me, I'm morally opposed to it.
Yes.
So then part of me is like, don't do it. Don't pay them more. But
it will save you hours.
It will save you
so that way you can do other things.
If you don't have a family of 6 to purchase as well. If you're by yourself, if it's you going with friends, so you're just going to buy for yourself, then the price part I'm not against.
Drop the microphone.
I dropped my mic. Mic drop. I'm out. The price part for an individual, not for us. I'm against the price for us. But the price part for an individual doesn't hurt me as bad as the principle of the thing.
I know.
But it will save you time. I will say a tip I have, which we didn't do, but I imagine it would be better given what we experienced. If you have early entry, try going through Fantasyland and lining up at the rope at the backside of Fantasyland by Red Rose Tavern. I can't imagine that would be worse. Like, I really feel like that's the better way to go because we were right next to the hundreds of people where you won't be.
Yeah.
So you won't have all of those other people ahead of you. Yes, you will be at the other side of the land, but we ended up at that side of the land anyway because there were so many people ahead of us. So if you get early entry, if you stay at the Disneyland resorts, I suggest trying that. I think that's what we would do another time.
Yeah.
Or just, you can try to rope drop, but just know, 1, it's insane. 2, you might still wait a long time.
Yeah.
And I'll go into the other things later. So then, rope dropping racers.
Yeah.
In California Adventure. I cannot believe how much of a better experience it is. So much better. I do not understand why they don't do this over in Disneyland. I do not understand it. So I think I talked about it last week. But Cars Land is open for early entry. Galaxy's Edge is not, but Cars Land is. So some of the rides start running at 7:30, like Mater and Luigi's. Racers does not run until 8 o'clock, till park open. But those other two rides, if you have early entry, you can get on those rides. So they open up Cars Land for early entry. Yep. So we lined up for Racers right in front of Racers. And when I walked by, because we entered down by, it's not Paradise Pier, or not Pixar Pier. What's that area called again?
Well, it's like it's
by Ariel's, right?
Yeah.
Because we had that entrance from our hotel. And so when we walked into Cars Land, I just looked down by Avengers Campus, and they were stopping all the other guests right around Avengers Campus, like right before Avengers Campus, and just hundreds of people are lining up.
Yeah.
So we were not right next to all the other guests.
Yeah.
We had, there's probably like 100 people, probably 80 people maybe in Cars Land, but still, that's nothing compared to the hundreds lining up, on Buena Vista Street. And when the rope drops, we're right in front of the ride.
Yeah.
We're not right next to all of these hundreds of people.
Well, when they let us into the line of the ride before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it was like 3 minutes before 8
Yeah,
o'clock. And he was like, the ride is not running yet. It does not ride until park open. We're just doing some crowd control. So yeah, they opened up the line, about 3 minutes before 8 o'clock. But even if they hadn't done that, we would have started walking into the line before any of those people would have gotten to the end of the land.
Yeah.
And so just when it comes to early entry, so much better. So much better. We talked about it last week. It broke down when you were in line, so it took you guys a little longer. Had it not broken down and you guys were just in standby, you would have waited maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
A couple of minutes after a rope drop, it was up to an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Yep.
With it when everyone got in. So I do not understand why they don't do this for early entry in Disneyland. Why don't they let the early entry guests walk through Frontierland and stop at Hungry Bear? I seriously want to talk to somebody about that. Like, do you have a suggestion box? Like, it's ridiculous. If you have the ability to do that in California Adventure for Racers, why don't you do it here? This does not apply if you do not stay at a Disneyland Resort. So if you stay at a Disneyland Resort, or if you don't and you don't have early entry, it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
People are rope dropping, mainly racers. Mm-hmm. Web Slingers is open for early entry. And I've been seeing like 20-minute wait for that first half hour from 7:30 to 8. After 8 o'clock, it usually goes up to, I've noticed, like 45 minutes or so. It typically stays around an hour throughout the day, Web Slingers. So my suggestion would be, if you don't want to purchase individual Lightning Lane and you need to get on Racers, rope drop Racers and deal with the fact that it's going to be a long line.
Yeah.
But that one gets up to like 2 hours later in the day. It also breaks down quite a bit. So I would try for it first thing, because it will be longer than Web Slingers.
Yeah.
Web Slingers hovers around an hour from what I saw, especially when we were there. But Racers hovers around an hour and a half or more. Mm-hmm. You could also do single rider for Racers if your family doesn't mind splitting up, and that is a quick one.
Yeah. Sometimes it may, depending, it could be a longer wait, but you're not going to be waiting 2 hours.
No.
For single rider.
When I did single rider in May, I walked right on.
Okay. When I've done it to where I've waited at least 30, 40 minutes.
That was before Genie Plus.
That's true. But still, there's a gamble that you may wait a little bit longer for single rider. Because it depends on the groups of the other people in lines, if they're in, the size of their groups, and if they need one person to fill in a car.
Yeah.
So.
But if racers is a top priority for you, I would still suggest rope dropping as much as I dislike the mania of it, or watch for the times it breaks down.
Yeah.
And go wait right outside
just
of
camp
it.
Out,
Camp
wait
out.
for it to break down, because it will break down.
It will break down. But if you do have early entry, it's way better. And I would definitely suggest rope dropping it if you have early entry, like rope drop racers, 100%. So if you don't care about specifically Rise, I didn't really test this in California, or if you want to buy individual lightning lane or you don't care about riding it, don't rope drop Rise.
Yeah.
The rest of the park, even if you don't have early entry.
Yeah. So if you're lining up at 8 o'clock or park open at 9 o'clock on, during the winter time, everybody is going to Rise. I'm not exaggerating.
I'd say 80%, 85% of the people
are going to Rise.
Seriously.
And so that leaves the majority of the park empty.
And it was relatively busy when we were there, I would say. It wasn't horrible, but it was busy.
Yeah.
Wait times were pretty high. You could ride. I mean, Peter Pan is hovering in the first half hour before Rise, before the madness of Genie Plus. Within the first, 10, 15 minutes of the park opening, Peter Pan would be 45 minutes. Peter Pan is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being literal every single day all the time, but I kept an eye out before we went, the week before, and sometimes still I'll just look in the morning, and it's staying low. Fantasyland rides are 5-10 minutes. Small World's 5 minutes. Space Mountain, 10 minutes, usually for the first hour. Then it'll go up to 20. Later in the day, it's up to an hour, 70 minutes. But within the first hour to 2 hours, if you don't rope drop Rise, you could get so much done. You're walking onto these rides without Genie Plus. This is standby lines. Buzz was 5 minutes. That was one that usually got up to a half an hour pretty quick. Buzz is 5-10 minutes. Indiana Jones would get up there pretty quick, but we didn't get to Jungle Cruise, which is one I was I hadn't done in a while, but Jungle Cruise, Pirates, 5 minutes. We walked on to Pirates and it was 8:30 or so. So about a half hour after park open. Big Thunder, 10, 20 minutes. The bigger ones, I'd say Big Thunder, Space Mountain, Jungle Cruise even, they might go up to 20, 30 minutes in that first hour and a half, but still if you don't care, don't let the crowd sway you.
Yeah.
And be ooh, I'm going to go to or here is something that I told you. I was you know what you could do?
I think I know what you're going to say.
So, because it makes me angry, right? Purchasing Genie Plus and then also having to purchase an individual lightning lane. But you don't purchase Genie Plus. And you rope drop Space Mountain, Big Thunder. Give me another big one. Okay, Indiana Jones. You might have to deal with waiting on that one.
Pirates.
Pirates. You get all those done. Maybe not Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones, I noticed, was taking a while to open when we were there. It wouldn't start running until 9 o'clock or so.
Yeah, they were having issues while we were there.
So maybe rope drop do Space Mountain, because it's seriously 10 minutes. And then maybe do Indiana Jones if that's a priority. But then you could get on Pirates after that. You could get on Big Thunder. You're not waiting long. If you don't care about Indiana Jones, you could do all the Fantasyland rides. You could do Space Mountain. You could do Star Tours. You could do Buzz, like within the first couple of hours.
Yeah. Here's what I would recommend.
Wait, I wasn't done.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Big Thunder. Like you could, and then as it gets a little later, and maybe you haven't got over to Big Thunder yet. Okay, yeah, now Big Thunder is maybe like 30, 40 minutes, but still not that bad. And you've already done a bunch of other rides.
Yeah.
And then only purchase an individual lightning lane for Rise.
Yeah. Yeah. You could definitely do that.
Smuggler's Run, but Smuggler's Run will go low. So that's when you could watch through the day, because sometimes it would go down to like 15, 20 minutes sometimes.
When we went on it, it was Sunday evening. Mm-hmm. You were waiting.
I was waiting for the parade.
It was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sunday evening around 7 o'clock.
So that's when you can, watch where like Rise never goes that low.
No. Never.
45 minutes is the lowest we saw it.
Yeah.
And by the time you got over there, it was up to 70. So we didn't do this, but after our trip, I was like, hey, noticing what we did, and because we had early entry. Mm-hmm. So because we had early entry, we could knock out Peter Pan, Dumbo, Snow White, Small World all before 8 o'clock. Yeah. So that is a big bonus in staying in the Disneyland resorts, and then head over and do Space Mountain and Buzz. And we could have done that and Big Thunder
before 10 o'clock.
I'd say before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even before 9.
Yeah. Here's what I would suggest. So this would require staying in Disney Resort, so you get early entry. So try to get into the park before 7:30. Get to the.
If you don't have small children, this will
that'd
be
be
much
hard.
easier.
It'd be hard, but if you can get to the gates, the turnstiles, by like 7.
Holy.
Or maybe even a little bit. So that
moly.
way you are in the park at 7:30 for their early entry. So you get that whole 30 minutes.
Yeah, if you get that whole 30 minutes,
you could do everything in Tomorrowland.
Well, not every ride. I don't know if Star Tours is open for early entry.
Well,
so not even though you get into Tomorrowland and Fantasyland, not every ride is running in that.
That's true.
Like the carousel wasn't running.
Yeah.
One Day Snow White wasn't running until after 8.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few that are.
So you could do Space Mountain. You could do Buzz. Then you can go to Fantasyland, do all the main stuff there.
Yeah.
Peter Pan, Dumbo.
I know what you're saying.
And then get all that done by 8 o'clock. You can go line up at the Red Rose Tavern to rope drop Rise.
Yeah.
And get your chance at that. Mm-hmm. So
you don't have to.
So you don't have to buy individual lightning lane, and so you've done.
And if you did Space Mountain, and with all of those rides you knocked out, later you might be waiting a little bit for like Big Thunder and Indiana Jones, but you've already done all the other rides.
Yeah.
So maybe waiting isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. So you could wait. And while you wait, you have your Mickey ice cream bar. You have your frozen lemonade.
Popcorn.
Something. Get some snacks. Enjoy the lines. Play some heads up with your friends.
So some ideas of how to not purchase anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it does require the premium of staying at Disney.
So you're paying more for your
hotel.
hotel.
More for your hotel. But the early entry is
early entry is so nice. I mean, it's tough to get there that early. I would love to try it without the children.
Yeah.
But it's so nice. It used to be where they had line outside of the park. They had lines to get into the park for only early entry.
Yeah.
So I liked that better.
You had a whole hour then.
Yeah, then it was an hour, and you had your own line and entrance. So Main Street was slow.
Yeah.
There's no one on Main Street.
Yeah.
They still had the ropes. You still could only do certain rides in Tomorrowland and Fantasyland, but you had the whole park. Well, you didn't have the whole park because you couldn't go into Frontierland, but people weren't lined up on Main Street. Mm-hmm. Where now you have all the other guests lined up on Main Street. And I get why they do that now. It's a crowd control now that it's just so much busier, and it's busier in the morning. People didn't used to rush to get to park to rope drop because, maybe they would go in later in the day. But now people want to do rope drop because they want to get on these rides that they don't want to pay for. And then maybe they go take a break in the afternoon back at their hotel and come back. But it's causing the park to be busier when it opens. So they have to let people in because the line to Disneyland will hit with the line to California Adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. So I see why they do it, but I do kind of miss just having your own entrance and then Main Street being slower. But, anyways.
But if you were to pick whether to go in the morning or in the afternoon, I would try to get there in the morning because it's much slower in the morning than it is in the afternoon. Except
in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
But if you are doing all the other things in the park, then the morning is the time to go because then once all those people are off of Rise, they've waited their hour and a half. Now they're all flooding to the rest of the park. I have video of us walking from Fantasyland over to Tomorrowland, and we passed 2 people, or maybe it was like 3, but it was one group of people, and it was like 2 or 3 people, and that was it. We were walking by Matterhorn, and we were the only people. Like, I was like, this is amazing. And Fantasyland was like dead. Like, we weren't like holding on to all the kids, trying to make sure we're not losing them. Like, it was just, we could just walk to one. Like, it's so nice.
What I would love to see Disneyland bring from Disney World is the extended evening hours.
I know.
For Disney Resort.
Yes. So they have an extra 2 hours at night.
Extra 2 hours. So the park stays open for extra 2 hours for, I think it's deluxe hotel guests.
Oh, it's only deluxe.
Only deluxe.
Gotcha.
And so it's open from, I think it was 11 to 1 a.m.
Yeah. Now food, I heard someone say that food is not.
Oh, okay.
It's just rides.
Just rides.
Yeah.
But still. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I would love
we could never do that with we could never do that with the kids. But if we get to go next year, then I want to try that.
For sure.
But yeah. So but even if you don't have early entry, like I said, like, and you don't care
rides,
you don't care about Rise, try to get all those other rides in because you can. Like it's so nice. Okay. Some things we notice about staying at Paradise Pier.
Yep.
So it is the best value out of the Disneyland Resort hotels, the 3.
That's not saying much.
Yeah, it's almost still a pretty penny. But so I know we talked about it when we talked about the Disneyland resorts in an episode, and we talked about staying here. It had been a good 8 years or so probably since we had stayed here. It is not a deal breaker, and I feel so like snobby talking about it, but their elevators are a pain.
Big pain.
Is it worth it? Like, if you want to stay at a Disneyland Resort hotel and they have the best rates,
and you get the early entry,
like this isn't a deal breaker, but just to be aware and to plan accordingly. Their elevator situation is not great. You have to wait a long time.
Yeah.
They only have 3 or 4 elevators for the entire hotel, and they're all in the same place. So everyone is going to the center of the hotel and waiting for these same elevators. They improved it a bit to where now on the outside, they have a little screen. You pick your floor and it tells you which elevator to wait for, A, B, C, or D. Sometimes it was wrong. And then when that elevator opens, there's a little screen and it tells you which floors it's going to. So you can see, oh, they're not going to my floor. They're not going to the lobby. Okay, I'm not going to get on that one. So it did help, but you still are waiting quite a bit.
Yeah.
So like when we're leaving in the morning and we're wanting to get to the park by 7:30, it would take us like 10, 15 minutes to just get out of the hotel.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, you just need to be patient and plan accordingly. and at night when you get back and you're tired and everyone's getting back, it could take a while to get a elevator. Yeah. So just being aware of that.
You might be thinking, I'll just take the stairs. The stairs only go down. So the stairs, so if like we were on the 5th floor, I can only take the stairs to the lobby. Or
you can't go up.
Because the door that goes, because the stairs are on the outside of the building.
Okay.
So you have to exit a door on your floor. The door locks behind you. And you can't open it. Even if you have a hotel key, it doesn't open. It only opens one way.
Oh.
So it forces you to go down. And it doesn't go down to the lobby. It goes down to the outside.
To the outside.
So you can't be like, oh, I'll just take the stairs up. You can't take the stairs up because you can't, all the doors are locked on the outside.
Good to know.
So, but it helped. Like, I remember one day you guys left before me because the day that we left, I waited for the bellhop. You guys worked your way towards the park. So I took the stairs down and I was on the ground floor within less than 5 minutes.
Right. And that morning we had waited a while for the elevators because it told us to go to elevator D and we waited there for a long time and it never came. And so then we had to, but yeah, so like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but
it's a bit of a pain.
It's a bit of a pain. So just to be aware. So there are, to get to the Disneyland resort, there's 2 different ways we noticed you could go. You can cross the street and go through the Grand Californian Hotel. And in the Grand Californian, there is a security checkpoint to get into downtown Disney. You get about halfway down to through downtown Disney. You could also go back and you walk by the Disneyland Hotel and you enter at the entrance of downtown Disney by the Disneyland Hotel. So the first day we tried through the Grand Californian Hotel.
Yeah.
That was a mistake because all of the, well, I can't say all, but you have all of the guests that are staying at that hotel going through those security lines. And then you have a bunch of Paradise Pier guests that are going through that security checkpoint. And they only had two tables. And then we found another one that had one. So a total of 3.
Yeah.
Because we just noticed when people were leaving our hotel, the majority of people were walking across to go through the Grand Californian. So we kind of were like, oh, okay, we'll do this. Yeah. Very few people were walking past the Disneyland Hotel to go at the very beginning of downtown Disney.
It looks like a longer walk.
It looks like it's longer.
It is a longer walk.
It's a bit of a longer walk, but the security has way more tables.
Yeah.
You only have guests from the Disneyland Hotel entering at that one and a few from the Paradise Pier is what I noticed.
Yeah.
And so when we went through the Grand Californian the first day, it took us quite a bit. Because the night before when we walked, the security line in the evening is not long. It took us what was it? It was 15 minutes or something. Then the next morning, it took us 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The last morning, when we went the Disneyland Hotel way through the beginning of downtown Disney, it took us 15. Yeah. There was no one in front of me going into security. I walked right up to a table. You walk through the entire downtown Disney district, but I got through there way faster.
Yeah, you save a lot of time because of security.
So if you're staying at Paradise Pier and you're going to Disneyland, we definitely recommend going. You walk past the Disneyland Hotel and go through that entrance to downtown Disney. If you're going to if you're going to Disneyland California, if you're going to
California
Adventure, you have the special entrance now that's right across the street.
This was amazing.
This was great. This was great. And Grand Californian has their entrance that enters right by Grizzly River Run. that's super nice. And this is great too. You come out, like we've said, like by, like in between Goofy's Sky School and Ariel, and like no one's down there.
Yeah.
At first the line looked kind of long, but they had like 4 security tables too. So once we got going, it was not bad at all.
Yeah.
And then walking back at night was great. The only thing I didn't like we said, we never got over to Buena Vista Street. We never made our way over there. And so I feel like I wasn't fully at the park,
Well, yeah, it's because it's like walking down Main Street at Disneyland. You gotta walk down Main Street on Disneyland.
Yeah, and we didn't do it, and so I
didn't
was
go
like,
shopping or anything like that. We didn't. We didn't get Clarabelle's.
We didn't get Clarabelle's.
Oh,
because we got Gibson Girl the night before. I know we didn't get Clarabelle's. We got Ghirardelli. I know.
We missed.
Well, that's
out.
because we didn't do it. We didn't do a second time. We were only in California once,
and we got gypped.
I don't know how that happened, but that's how the plans went. And, but anyways, I'm getting off topic here, but the Sunday the half day that we went when we first arrived, we should have done Grand California. I think that's what you mentioned before as an idea that we should have done. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did.
It's because I already made reservations for Disneyland.
And then we were going to Park Hop, but then we decided to watch the parade.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get World of Color.
And I was afraid to cancel the reservation and get California because all the dates were getting booked up around then. So
we talked about just park hopping and checking in at Disneyland and then going over, but we wanted to get the nighttime shows. We couldn't get World of Color that day because you have to get in the virtual queue around noon, and we were driving down there.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go for the parade that night.
That's right.
And get World of Color the other day.
Well, we're just going to have to do a weekend trip.
We just have to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the entrance for the Paradise Pier guests is really cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice. And like we just talked about with racers, you get that early, you get the early entry even if you enter through the main gate, but the lines are going to be longer. The line was not long. We got into the park, went right into Cars Land, and then at night, it's great.
Yeah. And this probably goes into your next thing about mobile ordering. But
I have another tip about Paradise Pier though.
Okay, go ahead. Now I'll talk about mobile order.
So I've never done this at Disneyland. We did it in Disney World. I usually pack some groceries like we talked about. I pack the boys' lunches, I bring snacks, blah, blah, blah. And I usually just bring a little cooler and pack the things. I didn't feel like it packing that extra stuff. And I'm like, well, we did a grocery order in Disney World. Why don't we just do that in Disneyland? Just a few things, just some things to make, some turkey sandwiches and just, it was a small order, but just a few things. So I did. And it could have just been our driver. I just did a Walmart. He didn't know what to do. So the hotel will hold your groceries for you. And you checked into this because I was like, do they do it? Because I know they do it in Disney World. They have fridges. They will hold your grocery order for you.
Yeah, perishable things. They'll keep it cold for you.
They will keep it cold for you. And you just go to, guest services at your hotel and
bellhop. You go to Bell Services.
Bell Service and get your order.
You can either pick it up or they'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
To your room.
So I had you check because I was like, I don't know if people do this at Disneyland as much. And you checked. They do. Okay, great. But the DoorDash driver did not know what to do. Yeah. So he texted me, your order's here. And I was doing something in the hotel and I didn't respond right away because usually they just say, your order's here. And I'm like, thanks. Okay, great. And he's like, where do you want me to put it? And I was like, what? And he's like, where do you want me to put it? I'm in the parking lot. So I don't know if they do it as much, if the DoorDash drivers experience this as much there. So just a suggestion to maybe if you are going to do this, and there's usually a place for delivery notes. And if I was going to do it again, I would just ask please deliver to the front desk or to bell services in the hotel.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get, you happened to be down there.
Yeah.
But like at that point, I think I was like changing Georgia or something. Like, I'm like, I can't get down there right now. Like, so, you know, just a observation to maybe just put it in the delivery notes where you want them to take it, and you can have them take it. I mean, if they just went to the front desk would know what to do with it. So there's that. Last
mobile order. Mobile order.
Yes, but what the word I was thinking of left my mind. Topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mobile ordering.
So yeah, so with the mobile order, you know, for instance, when we early entry for California Adventure, you know, gosh, I can't think. We wanted coffee.
Yep.
We needed coffee. We were tired. We were exhausted.
I'm tired just thinking about how tired I was.
Oh man. And you know, because we weren't going through downtown Disney, we weren't going through Starbucks.
Yes.
And the Starbucks inside of Grand California or California Adventure doesn't do mobile order.
Mm-hmm. And we weren't going in. It's on at the end of Buena Vista Street, and we weren't going that way.
So there's a coffee cart right before you get into Pixar Pier. So it's like you're coming down from
right
Grizzly
across from
Peak.
Ariel's.
Right across from Ariel's. And they do mobile order. And it's Joffrey's coffee, which is very popular in Disney World. I don't think it's as popular in Disneyland.
I don't think so. I didn't even know we had it until after our Disney World trip. And I saw, I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah. And Starbucks is much more popular here in Disneyland Resort than it is in Disney World. I don't even know if they have a Starbucks in Disney World.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember seeing any. So while we were waiting in line for security, and this was before 7:30, I was like, I'm gonna put an order in for coffee, and so you know the app tells me, you can't make your order won't be available before 7:30. So you know, make sure you're ready to pick it up when you're in there. So I did for, I think it was between 7:30 and 8, and we got through security. And then as soon as we got in there, I didn't wait to say I'm here when I'm actually there.
Yeah.
I pressed I'm here when I'm walking there.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got there, the order was ready. And you had already walked towards
I was already
Racers.
in car then, yeah.
And so I picked up the coffee. Coffee is ready. When I got there, got it, and went straight there.
Yeah. So now sometimes depending on where you are in the park, like if you order food at Pizza Planet in Tomorrowland and you're over in Frontierland and you try to hit I'm here, it'll say
you're too far away.
You're too far away. But just keep an eye on it as you're walking over to the restaurant. And as soon as you're close enough and it allows you to, hit I'm here, because they're still usually, that's when they start making your food. When you say I'm here, it's not ready. And then you say I'm here. When you say I'm here, they start getting it together.
Yeah. So it's fresh.
So as soon as you can, when you're walking to the restaurant, hit it. Don't wait until you're actually at the restaurant, if at all possible. And also, doing it quite a bit in advance. If it's 11, no, I'm not going to say 11. I don't know where that is. It's noon and you want to eat lunch right then. Don't try to mobile order for right then. You can't. We did see some where it was like, oh, hey, there's one for, in 20 minutes. But typically, especially like if you're doing it at meal time, they might not have a mobile order for another hour or so. You can just go stand in line and get your food a normal way.
The old-fashioned way.
So ridiculous. But, the line could be long. And so if you want to do the mobile order, then, I suggest, doing lunch a few hours before lunch. It just takes a little thinking ahead, when you're in, and you can do it because, again, you need batteries, phone, blah, blah, blah. You're waiting in line and it's like 10:30. You'd be like, hey, where do you want to eat lunch? Let's see, you know?
I mean, if you're an Uber planner, you could plan out your entire meals, you know, hours ahead.
You could.
Like if you're waiting to get into the park, you know, it's, you know, 7:30 and you're waiting to get into Disneyland, you can make your mobile order at, you know, Pizza Planet for 12:30 if you wanted to.
And you could do your
dinner.
You could do your dinner. You can pick the time, you know, at 6:00 that night for wherever. And yeah, you totally could. And then you don't have to worry about it the rest of the day.
Yeah,
you could
do that.
You could.
So, I mean, that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just like, you know, you make a mobile order and then you get there, you say, I'm here. And then you can go find a spot to sit. And then you go, you find your table, you sit at your table. And by the time you get your table, you get the notification that it's ready. You go pick it up. You go sit down. You're all ready to go. You're not waiting in line, then waiting for your food. And like everybody's freaking out. And you know.
Which if you don't mobile order, here's a tip. If you are able to and you're waiting in line, split up. Have someone go find tables so you aren't looking for tables when you're carrying your trays of food.
Is that all the tips?
Yes, we could talk about it forever. But
I know.
All right.
Those are some pretty good tips. I think
I feel like we
learned a lot.
I feel like we did.
We learned a lot, even though we've been going quite a bit. It's so much different from what we learned at Disney World.
Well, and it didn't used to.
It didn't used to be like this.
It didn't used to be like this, and you could just go. And yes, you can still go. In May, we just went.
Yeah.
But
if you want the most out of your trip.
If you want to get a lot of things done, you know, the tips so that you can get a lot done without it being crazy. Because like when we went to Disney World and we were new to Genie Plus, the first days were not great. Like,
yeah,
at all.
It was rough.
So
that's why we need a do-over.
We definitely need a do-over. But, you know, hopefully this will help you. Do I love that it's this way now? Absolutely not. Do I wish we could go back to like 2003? Yes. But alas, we cannot.
No,
okay.
we can't.
To end this.
Yeah, so
I have a would you rather from a very loyal listener.
Yep.
That after our would you rather episode sent us one.
What is it?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather only be able to go to Disneyland every 3 years, but it's your perfect day every time, or be able to go anytime you want, but every day is over 100 degrees and overcrowded and you can barely get anything done?
That would be really hard. But I would love to go whenever I want, because then
I didn't think you were going to pick that.
Waiting 3 years is a really long time. That's a really long time. A lot can change in 3 years.
But it's your perfect day.
Yeah,
so there's new, I feel like I just got a lot closer to my mic or something. There's new rides and there's new foods and everything, but it's your perfect day. You get it all done.
Oh man. But
no,
it's
rough.
If you went every day or whenever you wanted, you can just be like, okay, I'm going to do this one thing. I'm going to go do this one thing. I know it's going to be hot. I know it's going to be crowded, but this is my one thing that I'm going to do today. It's my one goal. I'm going to go do it. And then be like, okay, I'm going to go to next weekend and I'm going to do this other thing.
That's true.
So you have more chances to do those things. You're not going to have the most perfect day, but but then you can say the quality over quantity, argument.
It's a good one.
Where, be like, yeah, but every time I go every 3 years, it's the most perfect trip every time.
Yeah. I think I might pick that. And that's crazy for me because I get major Disney withdrawals.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to go. But
yeah, like when we first started going, I mean, we had big chunks of time between each time that we went, at least a year and a half or so.
Well,
Our kids were younger then.
there was no, because Jack was 9 months, then he was 18 months. That's only 9 month difference. And then from there was a big gap because we had Noah.
That's right.
So we didn't go while I was pregnant, and we took him when he was 6 months.
Yeah.
So 18 months. That was in, I'll tell you, that was in March.
I opened up a can of worms.
Yeah,
here.
you did. That was in March of 2012. Jack was 18 months. Yes, March 2012. And then we didn't go again until September 2013. So that had been like a year and a half.
Okay. So anyways.
That was our longest break.
That was our longest break.
Well, except for COVID. No, I take that back. COVID.
No, COVID was the longest one. Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. I don't even think that's true. COVID, we went February 2020 and then we went August 2021.
Okay, so that was just a little over a year.
A year and a half. They were both, but they were
about the same.
It was about the same.
It was about
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Don't bring up dates with me. I'm going to go on forever.
So, next week we have an exciting episode.
Have you confirmed this?
I'm pretty sure.
Or are you just throwing it out there now to them?
I'm throwing it out in the universe. I mean, I've talked to him.
Oh, okay.
I've talked to him. We're going to have our first guest episode.
First guest, other than our children.
Yeah.
Our only friend.
Our friend Chris, they just got back from a Disney trip. And so, he was worried about, with Genie Plus, can they still have a chill trip?
Yes.
Like just they have things that they always do, and he was worried that like he wouldn't be able to do those things, and we reassured him, so oh no, you can definitely do those things. And so they just got back, they had a good time, and so we're gonna have him on and talk about his latest trip and what he thought. He said he has lots of opinions.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
We have other friends that just took a spontaneous trip in the last couple of days.
I did see that too.
And they are big. They used to go more than us.
So maybe we should invite them on another episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're all for, guest episodes. So if you know us and you're friends with us, let us know.
Let us know what.
I don't know if you want to talk. If you want to talk, let's talk.
Anyways, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, you guys have suffered long.
I can't believe how long this one was too.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. If you have any ideas, suggestions, thoughts, comments,
tips, tricks.
Yeah. Message us on Instagram.
Yep.
What's our Instagram?
At
Disneyland is awesome.
No, stop. You're gonna think we're obsessed. Okay. At dreaming.of.disney.podcast.
Yeah.
You've been on fire with the reels. You're
I know.
You're like coming back because you got a lot of footage.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time shooting a lot of video. And
so you're on like a filmmaker high right now.
Yeah.
And so, definitely follow us because there's been some good content on there this week. It'll die down, you guys. He'll get bored. And
I've made a video every day this week.
I know. I'm very curious to see how long this lasts for you.
I know. Me too. I am.
It won't last.
And I'm gonna have to. We'll just have to make another trip to get more content.
I guess.
But yeah, I'm going to take a break this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, then that answers my question of how long this will last.
Well, it's like you got to set boundaries,
Right. It's time with family.
Yeah, that's true. Put down the phone. Go to Disneyland, put down the phone.
Oh my gosh. Or don't. We just talked about taking external batteries
I
because.
know. But with key moments, when you're not selecting your next Genie Plus.
You're not the person to give this advice. You were holding a camera the entire time we were there.
I know, but I was taking pictures of our family.
I know.
So, anyways, and I am in none of them.
Welcome to my usual universe of never being in pictures.
I know. Anyways, well, follow us on Instagram. And this is where we're going to end it. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.
Bye.